Hello, it's me. Da, 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 da. Anyway, hi, it's Barbara. It's been a little time for the 20 people who watch my videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. It's now October. The summer was intense. A lot happened in a very short amount of time, and my little neurospicy brain struggled through that, and I just wasn't able to provide YouTube. We're gonna talk about books. This is a very tentative, very wishful thinking, blue sky, like dreams upon dreams TBR for the fall and winter season. We're gonna talk about the book that put me in a reading slump. I have finished this book, so it's not technically a TBR. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want. It's Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. I started it in July. I thought I would finish this while I was on the train in Chicago. That did not happen. You would think a 9-hour train ride with no internet, no way to charge my phone, but you'd be surprised. I can look out a window. Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. It follows a girl named Pamela, and you follow her from the 70s up until, I believe, 2018. You also follow a victim, Ruth, up until the event happens. Hello, it's Barbara from The Void. I wanted to pop in here real quick and just clarify what this book is about, because I was not clear in the original video. I should write down what I'm going to talk about before I start talking, but you know, I am the way that I am. Anyway, so Bright Young Women is a true crime novel that focuses on the victims of serial killers of the 70s. Mostly on one particular serial killer who, I don't need to mention his name, you know who he is. There's other events that inspire this book as well. The book shifts the focus off of these men who are deemed in society as these geniuses and methodical and brilliant and like they can escape law and blah blah blah, and they're really just losers who are propped up by other losers. This book makes you focus on the women and their families, their friends, their loved ones, and society, and how these brutal events affected us to this day, honestly, in so many ways. The 70s was a time. I did want to highlight a quote that was also highlighted by Read with Cindy, but it is probably the best quote to like sum up what this book is trying to say. I've tried to make sense of how someone who didn't stalk his victims in advance ended up going after the best and the brightest. And I think that's it. The thing they all had in common. A light that outshone his. He targets college campuses and sorority houses because he's looking for the cream of the crop. He wants to extinguish us. We are the ones who remind him that he is not that smart, not that good looking, and there's nothing particularly special about him. And I just thought that was a really well pulled quote. Props to Cindy. Obviously, she is better than I am at this. Yeah, so that's what the book is about. I'll let you get back to the video. Thanks for dealing with me. Goodbye! I feel like it's a criticism about how we as a society view true crime as entertainment and not as like the horrific event that it is, and ways to prevent it from happening. And as somebody who is a self-reformed true crime junkie, I think knowing the victim stories is important, but I choose how I get that information more wisely. Like, I now understand that maybe putting on a full beat of makeup talking about horrific crimes isn't ideal, isn't the best way to go. I really appreciated this book. I think it handled the content well. Just because I took 10,000 years to read it doesn't mean it's a slow read at all. It's very digestible. It's just me. So I would recommend this. If you've been thinking about reading it, you should. It's done very well. And I appreciate it. And I think there should be more books like this. I think they just did a really good job of highlighting the victims and their life and their story, and like why they're the people we should be focusing on, not on this man who's like mediocre. Oh, also the way that Jessica absolutely roast toast and just a filth this man. I enjoyed that very, very much. I think it ended well. I think it wrapped up very nicely. I have no notes. I think it was a very good book. I hate that I just wasn't capable of like reading anything while I was reading this. But every time I picked it up, I enjoyed it. The ADHD goblin. The monster in my mind. I'm currently reading The Unworthy by Agustina Batsiera. I'm sure I'm absolutely destroying that last name.
Basterica.
I apologize. I'm an American and I'm ashamed of it every day. Like, trust me, I wish that I spoke another language. I'm working on it. But they wrote Tender is the Flesh, which I absolutely loved. I did have some icks with it, but I did enjoy it. I still think about it. I read that book like 2 years ago, and it pops into my mind on a regular basis. Let me tell you what it's about. So The Unworthy is basically journal entries from a woman who is in a weird cult convent situation. Like, she's not a nun, but she is a nun. They don't believe in like God. They call him let me see if I can find, because they mention it a lot. You must never ever name the erroneous God or his false son or his negative mother, is what they call the Father, Son, and the Holy Mother. So they're not religious. Like, they're not Christian religion. It's like a cult situation. And you're just like reading her journal entries. And let me read you the first page, because this captured me. Okay, first entry of the journal. Someone is screaming in the dark. I hope it's Lord S. I put cockroaches in her pillow and sewed up the slip so they can struggle to get out. So they can crawl under her head and over her face and into her ears. I hope nesting there, the nymphs damaging her brain. I left small gaps between the stitches so the cockroaches could escape slowly. So it would take effort, like when I trap them, imprison them in my hands. Some of them bite. They have flexible skeletons. They can flatten themselves and fit through tiny spaces, live without heads for days, survive underwater for a long time. They're fascinating. I like to experiment with them, cut off their antennae, their legs, stick needles in them. I squash them with a glass so I can linger over their primitive, brutal forms. I boil them. I burn them. I kill them. So, this girl's a little cuckoo bananas. This is set in like a future post-apocalyptic situation. And I don't know if I'm enjoying it. I feel like this is a book that I'm going to read and be like, okay. I don't think it's a book I can even recommend to anybody. It is a very specific thing. I've heard some chatter online that people not liking this, but also people didn't like Tender is the Flesh. They thought it was gross. But I also was a vegetarian in like 8th grade. I already thought of the concept that humans could also be processed like cows. So that didn't bother me at all. You know, my mind can go there. But I'm not rooting for her, but I'm also curious about what's going on in her little noggin, you know? She mentions things that are like very surreal. You're like, is this actually happening? Or are you hallucinating this? A lot of ramblings, a lot of things that are like crossed out, and then a lot of things in parentheses. It's very false narrator, I guess. You know, every time I pick it up, I read quite a few sections. I can see why people who read like beach reads wouldn't find this interesting. You can't turn off in the same way because you will miss something. And it might not even be important. I'm not selling this, am I? We'll see how I feel. I feel like I gotta finish it and then sit with it for a little bit. Now we're gonna get to the TBR. I have a very large stack. Realistically, I will probably read 3 of these books before the new year, if I'm lucky. I'm a slow reader. I don't know how people sit and read all day. My brain cannot. But anyway, first on the stack is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. I bought this book a long time ago. It just seems right up my alley. I really liked A Study in Drowning, and this kind of is a similar vibe. This is what I think it is about. So it's about a girl who has a demon that lives in her or like speaks to her. She possibly has magic powers, but it's illegal for anyone to have magic powers. Anyone with magical powers. So she's trying to hide that. And I guess it's a little bit of a dark romance. And she gets these tarot cards that are like worth 1 spell each or something. And I've been fighting to buy the second book, Two Twisted Crowns, because I haven't finished this book. And I feel like I need to read the first one before I buy the second one. But I really want the set because I do love the covers. A nice autumnal scary season kind of vibe. I think this is definitely gonna be one of the 3 that I pick up for the fall. Maybe after I finish The Unworthy. I just kind of picked that one because it was short and I was hopefully I could read it quickly so I can like get a win after my reading slump. But this is a chunker, so we'll see. Again, I don't know how people just sit and read books all day. I wish. Sorry, I'm getting a text from my friend. I sent them on a hunt for a copy of Frankenstein. So next on my little pile, oh, this is from my childhood, The Two Princesses of Bamar by Gail Carson Levine. They wrote Ella Enchanted. Sometimes when I'm in a reading slump, okay, literally one time when I was in a reading slump, I read Ella Enchanted, and that really helped because it's an easy win. It's a very easy read. This is written for children. I read this, oh my God, I was so, I don't know, middle school. And from what I remember, it's about two princesses, Meryl and Addie. Meryl is like a warrior princess. Like she is Xenon. Okay, she's Xenon. Xenon is from space. Xena, warrior. She's like Xena. Very much into like learning how to fight, bringing up her skills. She's strong. Like she's strong-willed. She's very much the opposite of her sister Addie, who is very meek and mild and shy and like, you know, just a girly, just a little girl. She's just a girl, you know. Meryl becomes sick, and the only way to cure her is to go to a dragon's lair. I can't remember if it's a potion or a magic stone or something like that. And Addie has to go on this adventure because no one else can. She goes with a young wizard, and they fall in love, and she becomes a stronger version of herself. I've been wanting to reread this because I like rereading books I read as a child, or books that I wished I did read as a child. So yeah. Next up, this one. This book I got while I was in Chicago. I was on a literal hunt for this. This book, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I must read this. And honestly, if I don't like this book, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about myself. Like, if it doesn't alter my brain chemistry in the best way possible, I don't know who I am. So it's a lot of pressure on this book, and I'm so glad that I own it. I know that I'm gonna love it. I have to love it. Everyone loves it. But it's James by Percival Everett. It's a retelling of Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huck Finn. It's told from the perspective of Jim, and I just love that concept. This is a me book through and through. I love historical fiction. I love retellings. Like, this is very much up my alley, and I'm just so excited to read it. I got this in Pilston Community Bookstore in Chicago. I absolutely had to have it. I also got my copy of Chain Gang All-Stars there as well because I read that book last summer and I can't stop thinking about it. If you haven't read Chain Gang All-Stars, it is required reading to be in Barbara's book club. So you better get on it. In fact, if I ever release a book club, that will be the first book because nobody's reading it and I don't understand why. Anyway, back to James. I love the cover. I'm a sucker for good graphic design. This is very quick on my, like, I'm going to read this very soon, but I'm also afraid that I'll love it too much and then I'll be sad that I read it and then I can't read it again for the first time, or it won't live up to my very high expectations. But we'll get to it. I'm not going to let the autism goblin destroy my reading experience. I'm not going to let it. We're going to push through. But James. Also, Percival Everett is like such a stunning name. I like that very much. Next up, also a highly anticipated read for me. I picked this up solely based on Allison Page's recommendation. Misty Girl, I hope you are doing better. You know, you're always welcome back. We will be here. But it's I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This book is about a young woman who has always lived in a underground bunker, imprisoned with other women. She was either born there or put with them very, very young. But one day, the guards all leave, the bunker opens up, and they leave. And that is the story after that point. And that just sounds fascinating to me. I got this at Unabridged Bookstore in Chicago. Love that bookstore. This was like, this and James were the things I wanted to pick up while I was in Chicago. I'm upset that I forgot to look for Frankenstein. I can't find a copy that I like. This is also going to be read ASAP as soon as I can get to it. But you know, I'm a mood reader. So after I finish a book, I just go, this one. So we'll see what happens. I can't be held to a schedule. You can't do that. I can't do it to myself. You can't do it to me. Next up was kind of an impulse buy. I was similar to Unworthy, honestly. I was just having a bad day. And when I'm having a bad day and I gotta go to the store, I always check out the little book section. And sometimes I'll just get myself a little book because I'm having a bad day and I need a treat. That is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Keelier. I don't know. But this book is about a queer couple, who flip houses. Ew. Yeah, had it coming. Anyway. They're in this old house and somebody knocks on their door one day and it's like, hey, we used to live here. We'd love to look at the house, you know, just for old time's sake. And they do, and then they just don't leave, and shit happens. The blurb is by Frida McFadden. I don't love that. I may read this after Unworthy as like a quick thriller because it'll be pretty close to Halloween at that point. I don't know. I try to read within the season, and it just doesn't come together a lot for me, to be honest. And I don't know why that is. I do know why it is. It's because I have ADHD, and I'm autistic, and I am irresponsible in so many ways. Next up on my list, I've actually tried to read this book before, so I soft DNF'd it. Every time I say DNF in my brain, it says, didn't fucking read, like really intensely, but that's not the point. But I soft DNF'd this. I just wasn't in a good headspace for it. I read Bright Young Women instead. I'll read The Torment of White Women instead. That was pretty much... I just realized that in real time. Anyway, it's The Reformery by Tananarive Due. This book is set in the 50s. It's about a black boy who gets sent to a reform school. He's young. I think he's like 10 or 11. But the reformery is haunted, as it ought to be, because a lot of horrific things happen there. If you know anything about reform schools, especially ones in the South, especially ones for black boys, you know they're horrific. Anyway, I got to the first bad thing that happens to this kid, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. My little heart, I couldn't. But I do want to give it a fair shot. It's right up my alley. It's historical fiction. It's a haunted story. It's black fiction. This book is inspired by the author's family. Like, they had a great uncle that was sent to one of these reform schools and nobody knows what happened to him. This is based on the research that she did about her great uncle. And I think so many black families have stories like this where it's just, he disappeared. My dad has a story like that. So I'm going to give this a good try. I think I'm going to try to push through it, dissociate if I must, desensitize a little bit so I can get through the content of this, because I can only imagine what other things are gonna happen to this poor boy. Next up is Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. I absolutely love this cover. Stunning. I would love to get this framed or put on a t-shirt. Fun fact, my last name is Solomon. So that's one of the reasons why I picked this up. I read Sula last year, I believe. I loved it. It was so good. I feel like Toni Morrison is the kind of author you just need to go into blind. So I don't know what this is about, and I kind of like it that way. I'm slowly working my way through Toni Morrison, but I'm trying not to read them all at once. I'm trying to like marinate in them and take my time with them so I can really appreciate the genius that is Toni Morrison. But this is my next one. So again, no idea what it's about, but that's how it should be, I think. This next stack is all nonfiction, and that is a tall order for me. I don't usually read nonfiction. I've tried, and every time I just feel like I'm in school. But I do want to give it a good effort. I do really want to try to read nonfiction. I think nonfiction is important. I don't want to be the kind of reader that only reads one type of thing. I do think my reading taste is kind of eclectic, but something about like nonfiction just to me says, this is going to be boring. And, you know, most of the time it is, but I have a few memoirs in here. I feel like memoirs are a little bit more approachable. As soon as I saw this, I knew I wanted to read it because the title just gripped me. But it's I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This is about her mom being a heinous person, treating her awful. Jennette McCurdy, if you don't know, was a Nickelodeon child actor. Side note, I do believe if you were a child actor on Nickelodeon or Disney, you are entitled to compensation. You should have all the therapy provided to you, because what the fuck was that? The more I learn about it, the more I'm like, wow, they really were just protect children. What a wild concept. Protect the well-being of children. I do want to read, I think her name is Alison Stoner. I do want to read her book as well, because she's doing a lot of activism for child actors and speaking on the experiences of child actors, and I want to support that because we should be protecting children. I don't know why that's like a hard concept, but it is for some reason. Next up is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. by Rebecca Skloot. I'm a little disappointed that this book was written by a white woman. I just saw this and was like, oh, yoink, I want that. And I didn't look at the book at all. I thrifted this. But I'm not going to hold it against it. Maybe she does it justice. I'm just weary, okay? I'm weary of white women. Sorry. Hate me in the comments. Engagement. Anyway, but this is about, in the 1950s, she went to the doctor. She had like abnormal cells. I don't remember if she had cancer, but they took her cells and then they developed the polio vaccine. And she didn't get any credit. Nobody paid her family anything. They just used her and that was it. Like so many black women in history whose bodies were experimented on for health research, and still there isn't enough research on women's health, even with all of that torment and torture. So men should be leaders. Why? I don't understand. Anyway, I do want to read this because I do think it's an important story to know and understand and be able to explain better than I just did. I think when I read nonfiction, I'm going to give myself a lot of grace with it and be like, I'm going to read a chapter today. I'm going to read 10 pages today. Because also in nonfiction, the chapters are like 500 pages long. And I can't do that. I need short chapters. I need a win. Give me a win, please. Next up is Southern Horrors and Other Writings, the Anti-Lynching Campaign of Ida B. Wells from 1892 to 1900. And this is just a collection of her essays and articles. I'm very interested in reading this. I do think this is going to be like I read one or two at a time. I would love to have a portrait of her framed because I just think she's so cool. Next up is another memoir, In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. And this is about a relationship that she was in that was abusive, emotionally and physically, I believe. This was also recommended by Allison Pages, and it's been living in my head rent free ever since she mentioned it. So I did want to read this. I also picked this up in Chicago from On a Bridge bookstore. The way that it's described is that it's kind of a surreal retelling of it. It's a different vibe. It's not the typical memoir. So that really intrigued me. I feel like this is a book I'm going to annotate. Like I'm just going to be like, ooh, that's a thought. Also, the cover is so good. I love it. I love a good book cover. I got the last copy of that too. Next is a book that my good friend in Chicago that I keep talking about because they're like one of my bestest out of my 3 friends that I have. But they sent me this book July of 2024. And I've not read it yet. And it's mostly because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what it will do, how it will alter my brain, the ridges it will add. I'm just not ready for it. But I am going to read it. I'm just afraid. And that is All About Love by Bell Hooks. I know, everyone knows this book. I am going to read it. It may be on mini a TBR, but I am going to read it. And I'm going to take my time with it, annotate it, write all over it, highlight it, make little notes, put some of the lines up on a post-it in my mirror. I'm sure that this will change my whole life. But I'm not ready for that just yet. So, next up is another memoir, is Page Boy by Elliot Page. Oh, let me get this sticker off. Hold on. I just don't want the logo on it, you know? I don't want anyone to know that this place still exists. Because we boycott this place. We don't shop there no more. Next up is Page Boy by Elliot Page. This is about, this is their experience growing up in Hollywood, working in Hollywood as being perceived as a woman and coming out as a man. And I love that and want to hear it. I'm a nosy bitch and they wrote the book, so I'm going to read it. That's, also with any memoir, honestly. Jeanette, you want to talk about how shit your mom is? I want to know. You want to talk about your relationship was traumatic? I'm going to read it. I'm a nosy bitch who wants to know. And then the final book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. My understanding is Rick Rubin is a music producer with Def Jams. That's it. I assume that makes him important. This book was recommended. I don't remember by who or why or when. But somebody said it was a must read for creative people. And then my cousin, who is a brilliant creative, every time they make anything, I'm like, wow, you're like literally a genius. I don't know what it is about Gen Z. I'm so jealous of your ability to just like create and produce and release something and just be like, I made this. And then it's mind blowing. But after my cousin was like, oh yeah, I read that and I thought it was really great, even if it was a bit woo woo, I am woo woo. So it's like, that's a great endorsement. Also, I love the cover. It's a fabric hardback. I love that. If I ever wrote a book, this is the kind of cover I would have. But I'm also afraid that this book will completely change my brain chemistry, add ridges to it that will hurt to grow, you know? But also it could make me a better creative person, which is really what we want in life. At least what I want in life. But that is all of what I would like to read in the near future for the rest of 2025 during the cold, chilly months. I'm really hoping to get through at least 3 or 4 of these books. But I think 3 or 4 is a good number. At least one of those books being nonfiction. I think that's a fair goal that I probably won't meet because I am who I am. And I've always been that way. But I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. I so appreciate you hanging out with me and just like listening to me yap about books that I haven't read. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe so I can quit my 9 to 5. But really though, I'm so for real. That job is sucking the life out of me. I work at a call center. I help boomers log into their accounts. And if you've ever helped a boomer use a phone or a laptop, imagine doing that 8 hours a day. Yeah. I'm so grateful that you stayed to the very end of the video. It means so much to me. Please leave me a comment. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, your thoughts and ideas on them, or if you have any suggestions for me based on what I've talked about in the past. Let me know if you've read Chain Gang All-Stars, because not enough people talk about it and I need people to be reading it. I hope you're staying safe and happy. You are doing the best you can in the circumstances that we're in. And remember that you can be the change you want to see in the world and all that cliche jazz. I don't know what to say. I wish I had better advice than that. I'm just some person on the internet who was given the opportunity to read and given access to a camera. So I will see you when I upload again, which fingers crossed will be very soon. And we'll talk about some other things. So I'll see you next time. Bye.